Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru, and that's Count Jackula. And today we're going to talk about Love Lies Bleeding, which is the latest film by director Rose Glass, who many of you may know as the director of Saint Maud. But this movie is not a horror movie like Saint Maud was. This movie is more of a crime thriller romance, kind of in the vein of 90s crime thriller romances like True Romance or Wild at Heart. But this is done A24 style.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned it, I hadn't noticed the Wild at Heart until you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I should have thought of that first.
But here's the thing. The Wild at Heart influence doesn't really come in until the last act when this movie goes A24 surreal in a way you're not going to be able to predict. And we'll save that for the spoiler section. But the core of this movie is two small town lesbians, Lou and Jackie, one of which is a bodybuilder, that's Jackie, and one of which is Lou, who owns and runs a gym in small town New Mexico. They fall in love, and they have a whirlwind romance that includes moving in together right away, a whole lot of sex, and a whole lot of steroids. But unfortunately for them, they want to run off, get married, have life together. But unfortunately, Lou is stuck in New Mexico because her dad is a crime lord.
Yeah, he's the local crime boss.
And he's kind of got his thumb like pressed down on her, even when she's not really connected to him in her life.
She's not technically part of the organization.
So she's scared to leave. But unfortunately, things go awry when Jackie kills Lou's abusive brother-in-law, who is a complete and utter piece of shit.
Yeah.
But this means now her and her lover are in the crosshairs of Lou's father, played by Ed Harris. And Lou herself is played by Kristen Stewart, giving one of the best performances of her career, I would say.
Definitely.
I don't know her name, but the actress who plays Jackie, dealing with the roid rage, and she's turning into like the Incredible Hulk, basically.
Yeah.
She was great as that.
One of the things I really like about the movie is the movie is a very, 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 very simple moral. Fuck your family, they're all fucking dysfunctional, crazy, get the fuck out.
Yep. This is also one of those love conquers all movies, but it's a very dark
weird one.
It's a very dark and weird one.
Yeah.
Because you got crime, you got murder, brutal murder. Even though this is not a horror movie, like the way Jackie kills the brother-in-law is brutal as fuck. Because she's taking a lot of steroids throughout the movie because she plans to try to win a bodybuilding competition in Las Vegas, she's dealing with a lot of roid psychosis.
Yes.
She's having a lot of hallucinations, which is, again, where some of the A24 kind of weirdness comes in. And those scenes, I would argue, 100% qualify for David Cronenberg-esque body horror. But the rest of the movie is clearly not a horror movie.
Right. It's clearly a crime romance.
Yeah. But what I really love about this movie is that these are two completely imperfect characters.
Oh, very.
Their characters are crooks, they're murderers, they lie to each other, they're not perfect. But holy shit, are you invested in their romance?
Yeah, you want to see these two crazy kids, man.
Yeah, you want to see them figure it out. You want to see Lou get out from under her father's thumb, and you want to see the two of them move to California and live their happy lesbian life.
Yeah.
But in order for them to get there, a whole lot of people have to die along the way. And there is a high body count by the end of this movie. There's a lot of subversion of expectations, especially when you get to the end.
Yeah.
Again, you're not going to be able to predict how this movie ends. The movie is a period piece. It's set in 89, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of got like this mix of 80s and 90s nostalgia going on.
Yeah. There is this sort of like weird sensation you get being a kid during that period of time in the middle of nowhere. And everything feels like a blasted apocalypse.
Yeah, and that's the thing I really appreciate about this movie. Sometimes when you're doing a period piece, especially like a throwback period piece like this that's throwing back to an older type of movie, you will emphasize the like media representation of that decade.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie feels less like the media's representation of the 90s and more like what it was like to live in a small town in the 90s.
In
especially
89,
if you were queer.
Yeah.
And you're right, 89, not the 90s.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's right on that cusp. But yeah, no, absolutely. The level of ennui and desolation when it comes to the town itself is like, yeah.
The other thing I really like about this movie is that this movie is a hard R.
Yes.
Which means you do get graphic lesbian sex in this movie. And as someone who...
Which is kind of refreshing.
Yeah. Well, because as someone who grew up in the period of time where movies would give you an X rating if you showed a woman having pleasure in a sexual context, it was nice to see a movie that was just wall-to-wall women pleasuring each other.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also like violence and crime and like drugs and all that stuff, but it was nice when it did have the romantic scenes.
Yeah, and they are romantic.
Yes.
You know?
Even the scene where she's talking about wanting to shove her whole fist inside of her is really romantic. All my lesbian friends joked about when they saw this movie is that you can tell it's an authentic lesbian movie because they move in after sleeping together once.
Yes. Yep. So many times it was like, I met this new girl. Has she moved in? Yep.
To be clear, at least one of them is stated in the movie to be bisexual because we actually do see her sleeping with a guy before she meets Lou.
Movie's really good.
It's good. And Ed Harris, it's really cool to see him in this movie. He's playing this weird combination of drug lord and hippie. So he's kind of like this chill, quiet dude, but with this quiet menace about him. Like at any moment, he could have you executed.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of his performance in the Westworld television show.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
But like in this one, it's so much greasier.
Yeah.
You know, like
he's got that
slimier.
He's got that balding but long hair look going on. It looks like Devin Townsend.
Yes.
It looks like Devin Townsend back in his strapping young lad days. It's just greasy, you know, but he's just sitting there like feeding his bugs and like running his gun shop, which is like a front for a drug ring, which I'm pretty sure is how Lou is getting her steroids supply.
From. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, she's probably getting them from his guys.
You know? And that's the other thing. They never show her doing it, but it's very clear that she's been selling the steroids to people at the gym for a while.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like her primary source of income.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the gym itself. She's more mad at Jackie for killing the brother-in-law than the brother-in-law for abusing his daughter, which is just like one of those like, oh, fuck you, man.
Yeah. If you really actually care at all about family, wouldn't you aired him out already?
Exactly. Why wasn't he given a dirt nap?
Yeah.
You know? And the answer really comes down to Lou Sr. is a bit of a sexist.
Yeah, he's a complete misogynist.
And even though it's not his blood, the son-in-law is still a son.
Yeah.
And he gives that son more leeway and respect than he ever gave his daughters.
Yeah.
The movie subtly tells you that he wanted a son by the fact that he named his first daughter Lou.
Yeah. A movie that came out around the same time as this one did that was relatively similar was Drive-Away Dolls.
Yeah. Drive-Away Dolls is like the comedy version.
Yeah.
Kind of
yeah. Like that one's like clearly like a Coen Brothers comedy.
Yeah.
Not the least of which because it's done by one of the Coen Brothers.
Yeah, 100%.
This one is Tony Scott, Tarantino, David Lynch.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. 100%.
The lesbian crime flick, that really did kind of start with Bound.
Yeah.
You know, that
Bound
was the first
is the
major one, you know?
Bound is the foremother to all of them.
Yeah.
The movie is currently available on just about every streaming platform you can rent a movie on, so I highly recommend you do if anything we've said about this movie has enticed you. I will include an Amazon affiliate link in the description below, and if you click that link and watch or rent the movie through that link, I will get a kickback from it. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let's move on to the spoilers so we can talk about how this movie ends and why you will not be able to predict that's how it's gonna end. So here we go.
There's a lot of murder. There's a lot of hiding a body. There are twists. There are turns. You do not know how exactly everything is going to turn out.
There's a huge chunk of this movie where Lou is trying to hide the murder of her brother-in-law to protect Jackie. But her dad, Lou Sr., figures things out and has to deal with Jackie, but Lou stands in the way. So eventually it's like, I have to deal with my own daughter because I'm not going to get caught by the feds because of my daughter's fuck up. And there's this heavy implication that he's also killed her mom in the past for snitching on him.
Yeah.
The movie goes off the rails at the end where it ends up in a very simple scenario. Lou has to go to Lou Sr.'s compound to get Jackie back.
And this is where she has every confrontation with all of her surviving family members.
And ultimately culminates in a confrontation with her father where people get shot, including her.
Yeah.
And it looks like she is going to lose. And then Jackie shows up and the steroids have turned her into a 50-foot woman who grabs Lou Sr. and slams him into the ground. She literally hulks out at the end of this movie.
Yeah, she literally becomes 50 feet tall.
Yeah, and what I love is that up until this point in the movie, you've had reality, which has been very super grounded. And then you've had her roid hallucinations. And in those hallucinations, weird shit happens, her body gets weird proportions, it's a lot of body horror. But at the end of the movie, those two worlds combine and you're not sure what's real anymore.
It turns into Wild at Heart.
Yeah, and now you're in the realm of the metaphorical, which may be literally happening, or it's just metaphorical.
Yeah, because like they both become big and start running through the clouds.
Yeah. You can either read this scene as literally she roided so hard she gained a fucking superpower, or you can read it metaphorically. This is how Lou sees Jackie. As her superhero.
Yeah.
When she saves her from her dad in the end. And either way, the movie works, regardless of which way you see it. Personally, I like to imagine she actually turned into a 50-foot woman. Because that just makes my world all the better.
That's just a lot of fun. Yeah, it's just so, God, it's so weird.
Now, I will say, if you're not down for this kind of weirdness, this might be the moment where the movie loses you. But if you're like us, this is going to be the point where the movie goes from being a great movie to a masterpiece.
Yeah. So it makes the movie worth watching.
Yeah, I love it. The way this movie ends is perfect. I don't care what anyone says. It reminds you at the very end that, yes, you are watching an A24 movie.
Yes.
And you're not going to get away from the A24 weirdness. Love Lies Bleeding is a great movie. I highly recommend it. If you are LGBTQ yourself, then you'll probably want to check it out alongside Drive Away Dolls.
It's one of the better like crime romance movies, period.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that said, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube. I stream here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. I also stream on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays, same time.
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, if you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag Attack of the 50-Foot Lesbian. Use the hashtag Attack of the 50-Foot Lesbian, that way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows that you just got saved by
a 50-foot lesbian.
By a 50-foot roided out lesbian.
That's the American dream!
That's the American dream! Exactly. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and we'll catch y'all later.